What's going on, everybody? Listen, we have assembled for the Superman review, you guys, because Superman 2025 is finally here. It feels like we've been talking about it for forever, and it finally happened. We finally have gotten to witness James Gunn's 2025 Superman, and let me tell y'all, it was a blast. And we've got a range of opinions, a range of things to talk about, and I can't wait to dive into it, guys. But first off, let me just introduce my different guests. We got Loretto here. What's going on, man? How you been? How's your weekend?
What up? Man, it's been a week. Lots of fight training and gearing up because in about 12-ish hours, I'm gonna be flying to New York City. First time.
Oh, snap.
Seeing the Big Apple. Yeah, California kid going to the East Coast, like the
First
proper East
time.
Coast for
Okay.
the first time. I'm gonna have a ball, man. It's gonna be great.
Awesome, man. Well, what you going out there for? Vacation?
Well, me and my girlfriend, we're gonna go out there and obviously sightsee. But she has some dance business. She's a lifelong dancer, so she's got some dance business to take care of. And I'm gonna wander around, find some film locations. I've already got a couple planned out. The Taxi Driver Diner. You know, I'm gonna try to sit where Bob De Niro sat.
There you go.
Obviously, you know the Once Upon a Time in America. Everyone does that shot, you know, with the Brooklyn Bridge in the background. But I'm also looking up some other ones. I might do a couple Jersey spots. We'll see.
There you go, man. Hey, you got a great plan coming up, brother. That's awesome. Mike, it's good to have you back, man. Been a little while. How you been?
You know, Superman came out, so I'm doing great. It's been a time. This is the movie that I have waited 20 years for, just about, I would say. So I'm glad to be here talking about it. Got some fun stuff on the podcast that we've been doing. Launched Insider Chatter every week with my buddy Nate, and that's been a blast. So
Awesome.
Life's good. Life's been real good.
Awesome, man. Hey, I got to get in on that Insider Chatter. I will absolutely be watching the episodes after this. And Larry, what's going on, my man? It's so good to see you, my friend. How are you this morning?
I'm doing all right. We made it on here successfully after a hiccup or two on this microphone. So I'm doing a little bit better now that we are on and rolling.
Yeah, man. Y'all, Lex Luthor's monkeys were tampering with us this morning, y'all. Everybody had tech issues. It was just, the monkeys were just going at it, man. They were working overtime on the keyboards, y'all. But
Seriously.
we're going to dive into this review, you guys. Start just with our general thoughts on Superman. I'm going to just go right to you, Mike. Start us off, man. What did you think? You know, I know you're a big fan of Superman. How did we feel about Superman 2025, my friend?
Dude, DC is back. Like, I'm so in love with this movie. I'm seeing it again later today. Yeah, like, it just captures the exact tone that you want from the character. David Corenswet kind of just captures everything that I love about Superman the Animated Series or like modern Superman comics. It still has some of the DNA from Superman the movie. You can very much feel that Christopher Reeve like essence kind of in this film, especially like the Donner cut of Superman 2. But one thing that surprised me the most about this movie is just seeing the evolution of James Gunn's directorial style, right? Like, I know one of the big fears when he was first announced was, I don't want Guardians of the Galaxy in my Superman. But it's still very much a James Gunn movie, but he very much captured the heart of this character, right? Maybe kindness is the new punk rock is a line that is just going to stick with Superman forever because that's what this character has always been about. I'm glad we're finally embracing that. I know it's not for everybody. There's a couple of things in this movie that we can probably get into a little bit later that I don't love, but like on the whole, it's just a really fun time. And I think that's what Superman needed. We needed a Superman movie that was pure fun and entertainment. And I don't think we've had that for 40 plus years.
I totally agree. Like, I think the movie's imperfect. And I came out of Superman the first time and second time thinking like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, while I thought it was awesome, I did love it. There are some imperfections, but one thing it did is it just was so fun. Like, I felt like I had been on an amusement park ride after watching. I mean, not to quote Martin Scorsese here, but I mean, seriously, I felt like I had enjoyed myself like I was coming from Elitch's or something. It just felt so fun, like so fresh, so new, and we're also used to the Henry Cavill version by now. Listen, nothing against Henry in the look, But yeah, Man of Steel in comparison, I'm like, yo, just like Dwayne was saying over at Cinemania World, I'm like, I want my Superman aura farming after saving people, not before. So it just was nice to see scenes of Superman saving people all the way from people to animals. He saves a squirrel. I mean, seeing that just makes me think this Superman is passionate about helping people. And that's what I've wanted for so long on the big screen, because we've had different versions like Tyler Hoechlin over on Superman and Lois and My Adventures of Superman. And I'm watching those shows and I'm like, this is a Superman I want on the big screen. And James Gunn, in my opinion, gave it to us. But Lo, I'm going to you next, my friend. What did you think? Just initial thoughts on Superman. How'd you feel?
So I went to a screening on Monday, and sitting in the theater, very, very similar thoughts as you. Like, at the end of the day, I had a great time. Didn't love some things, which we can probably get into later. But initial reaction was like, wow, that was fun. And I think, here's the thing. I think James Gunn had the impossible task of, hey, let's restart this universe from scratch with this movie. And it's just so much to carry on his shoulders. And I think he did a lot of things right. You know, it was a little bumpy here and there. A little bit. Here's my thing. There's a little bit of Star-Lord that came out. I don't know. I don't know if that was just me. There's a little bit of Star-Lord that came out with the Superman that I felt kind of funny to me. But I think he accomplished what he needed to, because at the end of the day, like you guys are saying, not only did I have a great time, I want to see more of this character. I loved David Cornswet as Superman. I loved Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Amazing job. He did such a good job of that cerebral, like calculated, you know, of what I don't know whatever Jesse Eisenberg was doing, but this wasn't that, and this was awesome.
Yeah.
He was just so precise in his demeanor and his intensity. And shouts out, how do you say his name? Eddie
Gaethje.
Yo, Mr. Terrific. You know, I didn't know how I felt about the other characters taking away from his limelight, but that Mr. Terrific was fantastic. Oh, sorry. He was terrific, I should say.
Say that again?
But yeah. But yeah, I think when all is said and done, not only did I have a great time, I had a lot of great laughs. I can't wait for Millie Alcock. Her little brief appearance was great. Even though I didn't love the movie, I want to see more of this universe. And I think he accomplished that task of, okay, this is going to work. Like, DC Universe is going to be awesome. So,
yeah, I just feel ready to embark on another journey. And that's something I haven't felt from DC in a while. Like, for a while, y'all have probably shared similar thoughts. It's just been up and down and back and forth. It's been a roller coaster. And for the first time, it feels like, okay, we're going to get a cohesive universe out of this. So I'm really excited for the future of this. And I could say I'm like right on the tip of teetering of loving this thing. Like, I really do. There's just some things that, you know, bring it down from being perfect, but it's still a very great characterization of Superman on the big screen. And well said about Eddie Gaethje, because it was so unfortunate when he was Darwin in X-Men First Class, and they killed Darwin off so quick. We barely even get Darwin. So I love that he got to be in another superhero film and still to show yet again with some swagger and actually get to like make an impact this time. So I'm very happy for Eddie Gaethje. Hopefully we see him in a Mr. Terrific spinoff, because I think that character was so good. You already got Lanterns coming up. Him and Green Lantern and Hawk Girl are going to appear in Peacemaker season 2 to some capacity. I'm like, yeah, get Mr. Terrific back on the screen, dude. He was great. Larry, let us know. What did you think about Superman?
Yeah, sounds like I'm somewhere in the same realm as Lo, where I did enjoy the film quite a bit, actually. I think what it gets right, it gets really, really right. And for me, that's just the characterization of Superman, getting his essence, who he is, back to the character, which again, wasn't necessarily the case in the previous DC universe. I'm glad to get back to hopeful, inspiring optimism when it comes to Superman, because that's what I think of when I think of the character in general. So I was just happy to get back to that in this film and show him literally inspiring other heroes, regular citizens, everyone in the film at one point or another has that like aha like moment with Superman that enables them to act on their own accord, save the day, stand up for themselves, whatever the case might be throughout the film. So that was my biggest thing. And when the film leans into that and leans into the earnestness that it has, I think it's really fantastic. The emotional scenes, those optimistic scenes, all worked so well. Just for me, James Gunn gets in his own way a little too much in the film, and that's where the film starts to fall off for me. The Gunnisms of it all, for me, they work better with the like kind of weird, kooky characters he usually deals with, like Guardians of the Galaxy or the Suicide Squad. You can bring in these odd-looking characters. You can bring in these really funny characters. It's all madness all over the place. Superman, at least in my eye, is not a character that is as well handled in that same like ooky kooky funny weirdness all surrounding him. So you have like this really earnest beam of light at the center, and then you have, you know, a weird little dragon guy who grows exponentially and Godzilla's his way through the city, and you're like, what the fuck? What is going on? Or, you know, a little tadpole head. This man literally just as a head with a little tadpole tail floating down trying to grab his little baby son out the river. Like, you're like, oh, okay, we've gone, okay, what's going on in here? I'm not too sure. But that kind of kookyisms and a lot of the humor, it was hit or miss. Some of it works, but it's not necessarily the funniest James Gunn. It's also not the least funny James Gunn. It's nowhere near as bad as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, let's say, at its attempts of humor that just fall flat on their face. So, you know, it's in the middle there. But I think, again, at the end of the day, what made me excited is that the character was just done right. The most important part of the film was done really, really well, and that is Superman, that's Lois Lane, their chemistry together, amazing. Lois does more in this one film than Amy Adams had to do in her entire run in the DCEU. I mean, eclipsed pretty much in the first 5 minutes of her screen time. She had more to do than poor Amy was ever given in that entire set. So
How do you waste Amy Adams? I still don't understand that.
Right?
And you can't fault her. Like, she could have been so good. I think we all were excited. We're like, oh, right. Amy Adams, okay. And then they just gave her nothing, like just nothing to ever do. And in this, Lois has her own arc. She's helping to save Superman himself at one point. Like she's doing stuff the entire film. She's being an investigator. She's doing what she's supposed to do. But also, he had amazing chemistry with Nicholas Hoult as well. So you had David Corenswet, who just had great chemistry with the two people he needed to have great chemistry with. And that was a lot of fun. And of course, my boy Krypto, while he was a little bit of a menace for about 90% of his screen time, I still loved him.
Krypto was a menace, man. I was like, that boy is bad. But he was so adorable. Like the scene, I think my favorite scene with Krypto was with the little ear when he's like on Superman's like chest when he wakes up after the battle. I was just like, I really like that a lot.
My dog Max does that to me on a daily basis, so I can relate. I just wake up, I'm just like, what are you doing here, dude?
It's a dog thing. And actually, Larry, you provided a great jumping off point for my next point here. How we just like feeling about our main people here: Superman, Clark, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor. One thing I will say about Clark, we didn't get a lot of Clark in. I thought we were going to get more Clark in Daily Planet, and we got the Daily Planet throughout. We got a lot of Lois and Jimmy. I want to see a little bit more Perry. I wanted to see them establish like Cat a little bit more. Like, I'm not sitting here saying I need the Cat show, y'all. But I'm just saying, like,
I'll say it. I need the Cat show, y'all.
Ooh, he said, I say it. But I just needed a little bit more of the group of them. I love seeing Wendell Pierce as Perry White. I was like, look at Bunk from The Wire. Let's go. Love seeing that. So I was like, I just really wanted a little bit more of them. But I think our core four, you can say here, were great. I thought Corenswet was awesome as Superman. He was great as Clark. And man, oh man, I really think Rachel Brosnahan, there's a couple scenes that she steals, man. She is incredible as Lois Lane. I love how investigative she is, how we see her just figuring out pieces of the story. We see her piece together the selfies from Eve, which was very clever of James Gunn. I just think that was like her Lois Lane was just a perfect example of the Lois Lane I've wanted for a while on the big screen, because Superman and Lois, my favorite Lois Lane, was incredible in that show. And I'm like, when are we going to get a Lois like this? That's not just on the side. We're following only Superman and Clark, barely seeing Lois Lane. Like, she has an active role in this movie, and I love it. She does an excellent job. And then Nicholas Hoult. Finally, a Lex Luthor who, in my opinion, gets to camp it up, but it's not this crazy, weird, zany stuff that Jesse Eisenberg was doing. It was like perfect for this role. He was the biggest hater. I just loved his portrayal of this villain, and I think it's way less erratic than Eisenberg's, but it works. Like, the little zaniness that he has does work a lot. I'm gonna go around the horn and just ask you guys about our core four, starting with you, Lo. What'd you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was bringing it up earlier. Aces. I thought the casting was perfect. Like, the best sides of Lois Lane, I think Rachel Brosnahan captured, like the headstrong independentness. Like, she's not a damsel in distress. Like, Lois Lane is a strong character. She's a strong woman, and she captured that, I thought, really well. We already touched on Nicholas Hoult, but I think he found this really cool balance between a lot of, we've seen a lot of Lexes on screen, like the Michael Rosenbaums, the Kevin Spaceys, the Gene Hackmans, of course, R.I.P. Gene Hackman. And I think, like, it's like, it wasn't like a impression of Gene Hackman, but I felt like there was similarities of what Gene Hackman did well for the character that he did well. In terms of his mannerisms and the way he attacks the dialogue. I thought there's a little bit of Gene Hackman in there, and it's not a bad thing. It's not like a one-for-one copy. Like, Nicholas Hoult very much was himself, but I felt like shades of other Lexes, but in the best way possible. And Clark, to your point, Leo, I think we could have got a little bit more Clark. I think the only time we really got Clark was when he was like sitting down with the interview, or no, not with the interview, but the pre-interview at the Daily Planet. But yeah, I thought we would get a little bit more. And yeah, I thought they were all great, and I would love to see these characters again. I think that's the main thing that I was touching on earlier. I want to see more of these characters, these actors playing these characters. So.
Yeah, somebody said this on Twitter that was very interesting. They said they wished instead of Ultraman, it was Lex in the Superman Buster suit. And I'm like, well, hold on. Like, that's what I want to see later on. Like, I want to see Lex do a Thanos and be like, hey, let me take this into my own hands then. Like, this is the perfect setup for him to do that. So I'm excited to see more Lex Luthor and how he's going to come back in the future of Superman movies and wreak havoc. I can't wait for more of that. Mike, what did you think about our core four?
Yeah, I mean, just piggybacking off of you guys talking about Lex for a little bit. Nicholas Hoult, you're right. He's channeling a lot of Gene Hackman in that performance. Even his plan is kind of similar to what Gene Hackman was doing in Superman the movie of, oh yeah, I'm going to profit off of land. And there's a giant earthquake that happens to Superman has to stop, funny enough. But yeah, he also has a lot of all-star Superman's version of Lex Luthor in him as well, where it's like that anger, that hatred, that jealousy almost of Superman of like, hey, I've worked to get to where I am, to be the biggest intellect on the planet, to be this self-made billionaire just about, and all you do is show up and steal my headlines by doing nothing. And that level of hatred is unmatched, I think, and I think that's why he's a perfect foil. He is a menace. He was so menacing, especially like we have him shoot a guy in the head. It's crazy. Like, I didn't expect him to go that far with Lex. And that's especially in movie one, like Leo was saying. There's stuff we want to see later on, but in movie one, they established like, oh, you hate this man, and you're going to kill anybody who gets in your way. And I just love that. As far as the rest of the core four, the Clark Kent thing, it's tough, especially in movies, because Clark Kent needs to be at the Daily Planet. That's where you're going to see him the majority of the time. Like, we kind of get the hybrid perfect form of Clark Kent where he's with Lois or his parents, and it's like, it's Clark, but it's also him with the shield down, so he's not doing the bumbly kind of goofball act that he does. And I just think that makes for a boring movie. You know, like, do we really want to spend 50% of our screen time in a newsroom? You know, like, that's the hard part of trying to, like, we want to keep the fun and the energy up. And that means you probably sacrifice some of those typical Daily Planet scenes a little bit, which that goes back to why Superman and Lois or Smallville or these other shows work, because they can spend an episode at the planet. You don't want to spend half your runtime in a movie at the planet, you know? So I get the frustration, but I don't know how you balance that very well. But aside of that, Rachel Brosnahan is fantastic. Like, she's just ripped from Superman the animated series. Like, that is just Dana Delaney's take on Lois come to life. And she's perfect. She's absolutely perfect in this role. I also love her chemistry, not just with Clark, but also Mr. Terrific. I didn't expect that duo to be really fun. And even little brother Jimmy Olsen. Like, she has chemistry with everybody she's on screen with, and I absolutely love it.
Well said.
Very well said. Real quick, I just want to say shout out to T3 Media Studios. Chris headed to
What's
a
up,
convention wearing a Superman t-shirt. Yo, if y'all have
Hey.
not checked out T3 Media Studios, this man is the truth right here. Yo, this man is a grinder. He works his ass off, and his content is phenomenal. His sound, his background, everything. This dude is incredible. So do yourself a favor, head on over to T3 Media, because this man is awesome, y'all. He is kicking ass on the content game, and I'm so glad to have you in the chat, my friend. Which con are you going to, by the way? Let me know.
He also does a great Ruby Rod.
Great Ruby Rod. I mean, that Ruby Rod cosplay is phenomenal.
Fantastic.
Top tier. Oh my goodness. Larry, let us know, man. You got into it a little bit, but let us know about the core four, how you felt about them in Superman.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We could have used a touch or two, at least maybe a second main scene of Clark.
Oh yeah,
because there's just that's the thing, is it's just the one basically that we get with him, and then he's gone for the rest of the movie. We get authentic Clark with his parents, but I think overall I actually just wish we got more time in those emotional moments. Like, I wish we spent more time in Kansas before he leaves again, and with his mom and dad, because that scene was so good. I wish we just got a little bit longer before we cut it off. But I think they are really strong to start off. Obviously, Lex, we could go all kinds of ways where they're sending him to this prison. We'll see how that works. And then Clark and Lois and Superman himself. Again, I think they just really perfectly embodied those characters as to what I prefer to see in those characters on the big screen. And it's great. It makes me, as Lo said, really excited to see them in another project together and get a follow-up to this film. And I say maybe we can get James Gunn out of his own way a little bit, but he literally runs the studio, so he has nobody to like check him in any sort of way. He's like, I'm the check person, so we'll see. This might just be, I might just have to get over it and get on board with the Gunnisms in every project.
If you don't mind me asking, what specific Gunnisms kind of rubbed you the wrong way with this one?
Well, one, it was look. I'm not sure if they're comic accurate, because I'm not familiar with a lot of these side characters that are introduced, but it's the weird looking characters who also kind of act hokey. Is just a very James Gunn staple. Like I said, so that like little dinosaur dragon side quest that randomly happens, which requires us to introduce the Justice Gang, who I also think work at varying levels of success. We have one that's great, one that other people like a little bit more than I do, and then there's Hot Girl. So it's kind of like
that's so accurate.
My girl, look. Let me also just say this: a big Gunnism is working. What's his name? The cinematographer of this film is working with this man.
The Flash cinematographer.
I'm a little bit tired of this cinematographer. I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm not a fan of the big head, little body shots of flying. I'm not a fan of really the close-up shots on the forehead. So you remember when everybody was up in arms because we got that shot where Corin Sweat's eyes look like they were going the opposite ways? It's because of that cinematographer. He likes to put the camera right here, which is not flattering. It looks weird, this big fish bowl, while they're just walking down the hallway or something. You're like, what in the world? How do you make David Corin Sweat? Look at that man. How do you make him look crazy? I don't understand. That's a feat. That is a feat. Leo already knows I have big beef with this damn scene near the end where they're fighting in Palestine, or whatever that country was called that we were in. And Hot Girl just blasting. She's chasing after the leader of Baravia. And that Screech. Look, again, I know it's comics, all that. I was not on board with that Screech.
That one's not in the comments. I'm pretty sure Hawk Girl does not screech like that.
Screeching around. So she's busting through this damn place, screeching, and then we get one of them crazy fishbowl things. She's like at the camera. Her eyes are like shooting off east and west. She looks crazy. I was like, what is going on? But I think what makes it most frustrating is there are scenes in here that are absolutely amazing. Like sometimes, every now and then, the cinematography is S tier, amazing. Yeah. Like that sequence where he rises out of the smoke is so good. And I even love when he pan shots the S on Corin Sweat in those moments. Call it aura farming or whatever. It's more the cinematographer aura farming. Amazing. But then we go to like super bright flat light, all the worst criticisms of, say, the MCU, this cinematographer does with the lighting, where it's just like super bright, bam, like washed out. So the cinematographer is a goodnism I want to move on from.
His name is Henry Brom.
Because he did Black Adam too, yes?
He did the Suicide Squad, The Flash, Guardians 2. He didn't do Black Adam.
Oh,
that was someone else, which must have borrowed his style, or he borrowed that style.
Took the Notebook.
It's interesting. Like, I don't know what camera lens that they fell in love with on The Flash, but like, I think the Suicide Squad looks amazing. So like, if we just did that, we'd be good.
No, he did Roadhouse. This guy is staying busy. He did the new Roadhouse, Superman, The Flash, Guardians 3, Cinderella. Oh, the one with Camila Cabello, y'all.
That's like, wait a minute now. Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella looks fantastic. Can we go back to that cinematography?
Right, because I was like, Cinderella we talking?
I was confused there for a second. No, I don't disagree with you. I mean, the cinematography has its moments. I think it was so unique. I think it's much better here than The Flash. It's like some of those flight shots, I think, really work. The moment or two where we are like zoomed in on his face, I don't like at all. But like, as far as the flight sequences, that's one bad shot out of like a 2-minute scene. It doesn't really bother me, I don't think, as much as you. I will say the kaiju I actually love, because Superman does fight a kaiju like every other day in comics. And it's like, they did the thing where he fights a giant monster randomly that attacked the city. Like, I get if you think it didn't need to be there, but like, that is one of those things where as a comic fan, I'm like, okay, he got it.
This is comic book. And
the only thing that would have made it more comic book is if Jimmy Olsen was the kaiju.
Yeah. I thought that was actually what happened. I was like, did Lex do something? And it's like Jimmy morphed into. But yeah, I like the kaiju battle because it gave us a moment to see Superman saving squirrels and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, this man loves to save everybody and everything he can.
I love that he tried to save the beast itself. He tried to save the
kaiju.
I thought he was going to take it to the Fortress of Solitude, because if you don't know, he has a zoo in the fortress of like all the creatures that he saves and gives them homes. And I'm like, that would have been adorable, but we didn't get it this time.
And I
Krypto interact with that kaiju like he did with that cow, just like, what? Okay, what is this thing? Hi.
Krypto just hanging out with the kaiju. I will say about the cinematography, I agree with the big headshots. There's only one in the movie that I just actually really, really like, and it's that shot. It's when he's going to see Krypto, because I was like, man, this did make me feel really fucking nervous. Because the way it's just like shaking around, and like it does create this like sense of like nervousness that I thought was needed for that scene. But like some of the other stuff, I'm like, man, that head is big. My goodness, that head is fat. And I know good and well it ain't that big, but there's a couple of scenes with the cinematography that are absolutely beautiful. And right after, or I guess almost right after he beats Ultraman and before the rest of the Planet Watch come, like when he's shining in the sunlight, very awesome scene. Like you said, Larry, when he's floating from the smoke, that kind of stuff, I felt like, damn, this is a hopeful Superman. And the score is incredible. And the way it blares when he does those things is just perfectly timed. I did want to go back to a quick comment though that did make me cry as well. Clark and Pa Kent, and what I like about the scene between Pa Kent and Clark is that, like, my goodness, man, like we're in this, modern era where all this toxic masculinity is going around. Like, Pa could be soft. I was like, Pa could be soft, man. I love Pa being mush. That's how it should be. Pa should be loving his son. So I just love the interaction between the two of them, and how even just the simplest line was what Clark just needed to hear. Like, he just needed his dad. And then to tie that back into the ending where he does replay the videos of his parents that soothed him and his ma and pa. Like, that was just such a beautiful payoff. And I just love the scenes with them. Like when they're calling him early on and they're like, hey, we just wanted to say congrats on the front page. Like, they're just so like lovely. They're just this cute little Kansas couple. Just adorable. Ma and Pa were great. Thank you so much, Casey. Appreciate the super sticker. Let's actually, Larry, you mentioned them. We'll move into the Justice Gang because I think I agree with you. It's like Mr. Terrific is terrific. Like, he's fantastic. I mean, like, yeah, I said it already on the stream. Give this man a spinoff. He's awesome. He's got swag. The scene where he's battling the people that are outside of the little wormhole, the little pocket dimension, and Lois Lane is under the shield. That scene was awesome. I was like, I want so much more of that. You could see James Gunn kind of borrowing some of the Yondu stuff, but it really worked so well for Mr. Terrific. And he just has this like dry humor that's perfect. I want him so much more. Green Lantern, I liked a lot too. I like Nathan Fillion in the role with his goofy little haircut. I actually wanted more of Hot Girl. She's like barely in it. And I understand the screech and Larry. I think on the second watch, I was like, ooh, okay, I see what he means. Because that camera was close, man. Them eyes bulging out. But I think I wanted more, man. The mace was super cool. She was like, I'm not like Superman. Dropped those little Netanyahu look-alike. Dropped him down out of the sky. That was hilarious, man. I really like the Justice Gang, but I have seen criticism that maybe the Justice Gang either could have been minimized or maybe didn't even need to be in the movie. How we feeling about the Justice Gang? I'm gonna start with you, Mike.
They don't bother me. That's probably not what James Gunn wants to hear, is that they don't bother me. But I also don't necessarily love them either. Like, for the reason that they're in this movie, right? They're serving as giving Superman more friends, right? Like, when the biggest Justice Gang moment that happens in this movie is when we learn about Jor-El and how Superman was sent here for a different purpose, which we'll talk about in a sec, I'm sure. That's a big deal. When it just gives Superman like a moment of, hey, I need to talk to Guy Gardner about this or Mr. Terrific about this. And that scene giving Superman his super friends, I think, was a nice touch and needed. It would have been weird if we just It would have been weird if it just cut to Superman in the Batcave talking to Batman about it, Like, I'm glad there's like a Hall of Justice and there's people like in Metropolis that he can talk to about his problems. That's really all they kind of serve for. They're not much different than Jimmy Olsen or Steve Lombard in that aspect. But as far as like them needing to be in the story, yeah, like Hawkgirl doesn't have anything to do. She's kind of just here to be the third member of the team. This is the one moment where it feels like Gunn is setting up something else. Because I'm sure she's in Peacemaker. I'm sure she's gonna have a much bigger role in Peacemaker because Mr. Terrific doesn't look like he's in Peacemaker. So it might flip on its head there. We know that Guy is gonna be in Lanterns. We know that Mr. Terrific is apparently getting a spinoff. That was a news story that broke last night. We might get the Terrifics, which is his own super team. That would be really cool. So I don't even think this team stays together that much longer. Like, we're gonna have Guy in Lanterns and then Hawkgirl's probably going to be with Jon Stewart or whatever they want to do later. So this is the one moment where I felt like the film is setting up future DC stuff, and it's not really doing a ton to service Superman's story. It doesn't distract from it, I don't think, but it also isn't really adding much to it. So they're fine.
Yeah, they're I like them. I think for what it's worth and what they served, I thought they were fun. I really like that they were also there to be inspired by Clark as well, or Superman as well. Because I mean, the little boy holding the flag, I was just, oh my gosh, I was scared for life. But the fact that he had his friends who, remember, Green Lantern says in the movie, we don't get involved in all that. Superman inspired them. So not only does he inspire the citizens of Metropolis, he inspires other heroes. And at first, when I was watching the movie, I wanted Superman to show up in Jahanapur or Palestine. I wanted Superman to show up there. But like the second time I watched the movie, I actually think it's more powerful for Green Lantern and the Justice Gang to show up, just because it does show his inspiration is a range. It's not just people. It's not just villains even. It's actual other heroes that have already been established, and they're corporate heroes. I mean, I'm sure Maxwell Lord didn't want them to do that. So
yeah, because early in the film, guy is like, we don't mess with politics, and they only, if you pay attention, they only really leap into action when Maxwell Lord's building gets attacked by the kaiju. They don't fight the kaiju until that happens. And so Superman gets his All Might moment where, you know, everybody else looks up to him. They're like, you know what? We're gonna get into action. We're gonna leap into battle, and I thought that was nice.
Absolutely. Lo, what did you think of the Justice Gang?
Really quick, I love that you touched on that, because that was one of my biggest complaints the first on Monday. I really wanted Superman to be the focus, and I didn't like how the Justice Gang saved. What is that country called? I don't remember.
I think
Jahanapur or whatever. Okay, whatever it is. I agree with you initially. Like, I wanted Superman to be there because, especially going back to like Superman the movie, like he did everything. He turned back time. He saved Lois. He, dealt with the missiles. Like, he did everything, and I thought that would have been cool to see again, like to see Superman at full strength. But I didn't think about it that way, Leo, and you kind of enlightened me a little bit. Like, I like the thought of him inspiring others, so that's pretty cool.
I think that's his biggest strength, especially in contrast to Superman the movie, right? That's a movie where he is the only hero, so you need him to do everything. I think you need to establish for a DC universe that he can't do everything. Otherwise, you don't need a Justice League, So like you need to have those moments of vulnerability, or like he can't be in two places at once type of deal. That's why if the city wasn't splitting apart, he definitely would have gone. But it's like, hey, I need to help Mr. Terrific. And that's just establishing later on, he and Batman need to do XYZ, while the Flash does, whatever else they need him to do down the street. It's just kind of building blocks. That's the Justice Gang is just leading into Justice League stuff, really. And whether you like that or not, I guess is up to you. But I think that's the kind of vibe Gunn was going for with it.
Yeah, and touching on the gang themselves, Nathan Fillion is just awesome. Like, I don't know if y'all were into Firefly, but like Nathan Fillion is just a great, even his little cameo in like Volume 3 of Guardians, he's just so funny and goofy. And I don't know nothing about Guy Gardner, but I like Nathan Fillion, and I knew the second he hits the screen, I was like, okay, this is gonna be great. Like, he was just having fun with the character. He was like doing the fingers with the ring. I was like, I don't know if that's a Guy Gardner thing, but I was like, that's fantastic. I love that. Like, that was great. And I agree with you guys. I feel like, or at least was that you, Mike? You're saying how you didn't feel like Justice Gang was distracting?
Yeah, they weren't distracting. I can also see why somebody doesn't think they're necessary either. Because they were always here to kind of, like we were saying before, serve Clark's story. So like he is inspiring people to be better than what they previously were. And that stuff works. But like as individual characters, like Hawkgirl doesn't do a ton. Guy is funny, but he doesn't really get like a massive arc. So like they're fine within the context of a Superman story, but they're not much more than that. Like I compared them to the Daily Planet crew, really.
You know what's funny is I was taken aback initially because I felt like the first time a couple of days ago, I felt like they had too much screen time. But now that we're talking about it right now, and I'm a couple of days removed, I'm actually gonna watch it right after we get off the stream. I want to rewatch it too. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm hearing Leo's thoughts about it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, they were in it just enough, I think. But initially, it didn't feel like that at first. I felt like I was so surprised. I was like, wow, they are really in this movie at first. But to your point, I guess they don't affect it as much as Mr. Terrific does. I think he's the only one that is significantly. He's trying to close the portal. He's, with Superman when the city's splitting apart. So I thought, minus him, you're right. The other two didn't do as much. But I gotta say one last thing on them. When that, we got that promotional still of Superman in his boots and then the thing in the background. I loved how that scene, he doesn't do a damn thing and they're just fighting him in the background. That was awesome. I love that shot. And like him and Lois are just talking while Justice Gang, I was so focused on that fight. I was like, wow, they're like really fighting that thing, but we're not supposed to focus on that, right? But I have ADHD, I think. I was so keyed in on that battle. I almost kind of wasn't listening to Lois, whatever she was talking about. But I love that. Like it was just so like, oh yeah, they're just fighting this thing in the background.
It reinforces that in this universe, and this is something that Marvel that's very different from the MCU, and I appreciate. In this universe, stuff like this is a daily occurrence. That's why you need a Superman to exist. And so he's just like, it's an interdimensional imp. They got it. I don't need to worry about it. And it's like. That's fair. It also explains why these heroes don't intervene all the time, because there's a moment in this movie where it says Gotham City turn left, and it's like Superman might be, Batman's got it. I don't need to go down there. Like whatever Joker's doing, Batman's got it. Which is just a funny mindset to have, because it's such a regular occurrence, which is entirely unique. Like Marvel, when stuff happens, it's an event. In DC, when stuff happens, it feels like it's just an everyday thing. He does need a new garage door
because that thing was coming up so slow. I was like, good grief.
That was one of the best laughs in the movie, and my theater like roared when that happened because it was just that was great. Like comedic timing was awesome.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That man was just standing there. That thing, it's funny because it's always that, right? It's like you got the nice car, but maybe the garage is kind of toe up a little bit. Or the
she was like, you got a flying saucer, but your door doesn't work.
So this is a pretty good comment from Abel, who's had a few comments here. Says, I think the film needed a little more focus. It was trying to do so many different things all together, and it never committed to any. I think what the biggest thing it does commit to is Superman's humanity, and how he feels about saving people, and how actually Secret Dance Move is the one who said it, how it starts as what he thinks is his message from his biological parents, but is actually just who he is and who his Earth parents, what they instilled into him, and that's just who he is deep down. Yeah. I think my favorite scene from the film was actually the scene where he's talking to Lex Luthor, but right before Krypto throws him around in the style of Hulk and Loki. I just love that he says, he's human, he makes mistakes, and he wakes up, doesn't know what to do, but he always walks with 1 foot forward. I love that. I'm like, I want my Superman to feel like me, a little bit. I want my Superman to feel relatable. And I feel Corn Sweat was relatable in that way, that he's like, yeah, I'm like lacing up my boots to go to work too for Superman, as Superman for the people. And it felt so relatable and such a beautiful moment. For Superman to just say like, hey, I'm human too. Like I may be from another planet, but I make mistakes. I do the same things. I love, I hate, I'm upset. I'm happy. It's wonderful to hear that from a Superman.
It's so interesting that they have him like state that, because it feels like James Gunn is breaking the fourth wall a little bit. It's just like, hey, this is what the character is, guys. Just in case you didn't know, especially with like all of the online discourse, like even from the first trailer. I'm not even bringing the other stuff into it, but like even from the first trailer, people reacted to like Superman getting upset when Lois is grilling him. It's like, well, yes, he shows emotion. He's just not like this alien god from the stars. Like he's a dude. And I'm just glad we put the man back in Superman with this movie. I think that's what the focus was.
100%. Henry Cavill was Superman. Here's Superman.
Literally.
Because Henry, it did feel like his Superman was from another planet, and that was what Snyder was going for.
Yeah.
But this just works so much more from a standpoint of depicting Superman, in my opinion. But Larry, I want to throw to you on this next one. What'd you think about the cameos? We had Peacemaker. People erupted in my theater, by the way, when Peacemaker was on there. And then we had Supergirl at the end. Are you looking forward to Supergirl now after seeing her in the movie?
So initially, I will admit I was a little. So I'm not familiar with the book that like her storyline is based off of, but initially I was just a little thrown back because in my head I'm used to like clean cut, all American, like Melissa Benoist style, CW Supergirl style, like put together wholesome Supergirl. So I was like, oh, she a drunkard. Okay, this girl is a hot ass mess. Cool. So at first seeing her, but I quickly adjusted. And I was like, all right, particularly because I loved that it explained Crypto's behavior.
So
Like-
you instantly get it.
You instantly are like, yep, that's his owner. Okay, yep, they're akin to each other. This is a duo here, Krypto, because the whole movie you're kind of like, wow, this is not Superman's dog. Even before he like reveals, like it's kind of a foster situation. You're like, Superman, you raised this dog and this is how he behaves. And then you realize, oh no, he didn't. And he's very much like, oh, this is a bad freaking dog. But my is it cousin or niece?
Cousin.
Yep.
My cousin is a hot ass mess too, going to the red sun planets, getting drunk. So it made me excited. I've been excited, obviously, as a House of the Dragon fan. I love me some Millie Alcock, so I've been excited since she got cast. So I'm definitely hyped for that. Peacemaker. He was there. I look, I'll just be transparent. I have not watched Peacemaker the show. I was not a fan of his character all that much in the movie, The Suicide Squad. Partially because he killed my man after they finally made him interesting and a good person, and Rick Flag in The Suicide Squad with Joel Kinnaman. I was like, yes, thank you. And then Peacemaker kills his ass, and I'm like, oh, okay, no. Why do I want to watch a show about this man again? No, thank you.
I will say, I'm with you. I hated Peacemaker in The Suicide Squad. The show is really good, though. I like as a Peacemaker hater, I did come out of the series like really liking that character. So you might forgive him.
Maybe I need to watch it because I have heard it's very good and eagerly and all that craziness. Part of me is like, I guess they can get away with it because they didn't show any faces. But I'm like, is Peacemaker about to be like, Superman, you look different as hell since the last time I saw your ass?
I hope so.
Before the reboot, before we rebooted shit, remember that? Okay, but I guess he kept them as shadows of the figures of the Justice League. Which, hold on. So me and Leo and our friend Tyler were having this conversation a little bit because I like what you said, Mike, and I fully agree. However, when your planet and your reality is ripping in two, that feels pretty big enough that other super beings of your planet might be like, what the hell? Hold on. What is going on? Our entire dimension is being ripped in half. So now thinking back, because I was like, how are they going to do origins for these heroes? Like, are we at a point where Wonder Woman is still on Themyscira, or has she become Wonder Woman? Same thing with all these other people. But canonically, Peacemaker saw them all as the Justice League as a team. So
I have the answer for you.
Okay.
James Gunn already retconned that. He said everything in Peacemaker season 1 is canon except for that one scene. Because of course Jason Momoa is playing Aquaman. Aquaman's not going to look like that, and Ezra Miller is the Flash.
James Gunn be doing all this type of stuff. Well, Superman's really the start, but actually I'm gonna keep this one, and we're gonna throw away everybody except for the few characters in my project that I still want to keep around. Like, it's too much, James Gunn. Damn it! That's why I was saying you are doing too much. Damn it! But now he's putting a big cameo at the end of Peacemaker season 2. I'm like, bruh, you just did that with season 1. You gonna keep this one around though? But okay, it's retcon, so we'll see. Because I'm like, what did this little rip like wreck Themyscira, and that's what like caused Wonder Woman to be like, oh hell no, I need to get what's going on out here on planet Earth. I need to go and see the world because y'all are ripping my home apart. Or was she just not bothered? She's like, you know what? You can kill that whole little Palestine country. I don't give a fuck. Like, go ahead and do what you all want to do. I don't care about these people. Like, what were they really doing out here?
The only one that probably could have shown up is like a Flash, whether that be Barry, Wally, or whoever. Like, I don't know if anybody else could have gotten there in enough time. I will give them that excuse. Like, I don't know if Batman could have pulled up to Metropolis in enough time to do anything. The Flash is the only one that's like, yeah, if he's already around, he probably should have shown up to this because this is a problem.
Yeah, this is a problem.
I literally was like, this didn't touch Gotham, so Batman didn't give a fuck. Like, if that Rip, he was waiting at the edge of Gotham to be like, is it coming my way? Or y'all got that over there? It can rip up Metropolis. I don't care. But if it starts getting over here to Gotham, then I'm going to have to do something. So I would just, those were the moments. That's how you know we're in a comic book universe pilled right now. Because, you know, I don't know, when we first started getting these things, I still didn't even think about it. Even at the beginning of the MCU, when like big events would happen, my mind never went to where are the other heroes that we've established. But now we're so ingrained in it, and I know they're around. I'm like, what are they doing? What, ma'am? But we know Wonder Woman is low down on James Gunn's list, so I'm gonna need you to bump her up, please, Gunn. I'm gonna need Wonder Woman to become a priority. Damn it. Personally, who I didn't love also, Maxwell Lord's little cameo.
I forgot about that. He's on that screen. I'm like,
I said, oh,
James had to have Big Brother.
I knew we had Sean somewhere. I was like, are we sure his wife ain't doing a mission? Like, where's his wife? I know he wanted to put her in here somewhere, didn't he?
Oh, Mike, you muted.
It cut out. Hear me now? Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
She voiced one of the robots. She is in this movie.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow. Wait, was she 12?
You know what's funny?
She was... which number was she? She was like 8, like one of the.
Oh, okay, the new one.
I don't remember which one she was. I know Palm Clemente was also one of them, so like I don't remember which female robot it was.
Yeah, his friends. He keep them checked up, man. He keep his paid.
You know what's funny? I personally I don't mind Sean Gunn, so I actually smiled when I saw him, but then I thought about it and I was like, yo, we went from Pedro Pascal to Sean Gunn.
He doesn't give me Maxwell Lord. I think that's my biggest problem. I don't get immediate Maxwell Lord off of him. Yeah. I get Weasel, who apparently is still in the universe, right? Because he was in the show that
he's Weasel. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Okay, so he's Weasel and he's Maxwell Lord, and he's who else we can put him in. I told Leo, I swear, if he had not introduced his wife already in Peacemaker and all that, she would have been Eve. He would have cast her ass as Eve, because I was like, that role, he sees his wife in this Eve right here. She would have, that role was low-key written for her ass, but he's like, oh shit, I already wasted her on a different random casting. But I'm also like, thank God he got her into the universe before we cast Wonder Woman, because I don't know, he might have been brave enough to put her ass in the Wonder Woman suit, and I would have been, the whole internet would have tore apart. It would have been,
oh no.
I would have been part of the tearing apart.
It would have been too much. So cameos overall they were fine. I was hyped because I also was thinking like, where the hell is Supergirl? I thought she was supposed to have like a little something in this movie, and I like the way they introduced her.
Absolutely, yeah. Maxwell Lord, I was like, what? That was such a quick little clip, and I was like, look at Sean on the screen. He be having to get his brother and everything, bro. Right. They love each other because, like, yeah, he get his brother some work.
Listen, I'm just glad it's Maxwell Lord and not anybody more important than that.
Low key, I was shook when I saw Kal-El's parents. I was like, oh, damn, James Gunn he only knows a handful of actors. I saw Bradley Cooper and old girl pop up. I can't remember the actress's name. She's in one of his films. I know that for a fact. I was like, was she Ratcatcher? Who was she? Was she in Guardians 3? She was in one of his last 2.
Yeah, because I recognized her, but I was like, who
But I saw Bradley Cooper's ass. I was like, "Oh, James,
Rocket
you had to bring these folks back in quick, huh?" You was like, "All right, let's make you Jarrell and all them." No, but it's fine. But I agree with a hot girl. If you're gonna put a hot girl in the movie, give her something to do. You know, like that was my biggest. I didn't mind them in the movie. Just give her a little something to do. Shit. I mean, I agree with Leo. I did like that moment because we need some of those heroes too, where he's trying to take advantage of your goodness and all this, and she's like, "No, I'll kill you if I think you're bad. If I think you're evil as hell, I'll kill your ass."
Yeah.
And I said on the Cinemania, that's the kind of Wonder Woman I'm hoping we get, is a middle ground. Like, I don't think we need pure Superman style Wonder Woman where she doesn't kill anyone. I also don't think we need Zack Snyder Justice League Wonder Woman where she's holding people's heads up as like war trophies and shit. No, we don't need that. My God. But I like the middle ground Wonder Woman who will do everything she can to not kill people. But if that's like her only out, if she doesn't think like there's a containing you, there's a reforming, she will kill the threat when it needs to be killed. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for with her.
Create Original saw it in 4DX. That's awesome.
Okay.
Shoot, that sounds like a fun experience.
Was it hype? Did they use the 4DX well?
Yeah, let us know.
The flight has to go crazy in 4DX.
Shaking the room,
right?
Like within his face, in your face, you're just whole.
You got to be shaking around in them chairs.
That Crypto thing, you know how they have those little things that like punch your back? When Crypto was like flopping him around, I know your back was getting like a full on like massage.
I don't know about that 40X now. Don't get beat up by Crypto in the 40X. Like,
could I touch on Millie though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I love her in House of Dragon. Like, don't get me wrong, she's great, but in obviously it's a lot more dramatic. She's a lot more stoic. It's so cool to see the lighter side of her, and I cannot wait for Supergirl. Like, I didn't realize that was the take on the character, and I'm so much more invested. I need to see this hot mess, and I watch it unravel, and also watch her grow, because obviously she's probably gonna break out of that in some shape or form in the film and find herself. And I am so happy for Millie Alcock. I think she's a fantastic up and coming actress, and her portrayal was fun. You know, she came in all, "Hey, cousin."
She was party girl, man.
She's like stumbling with her little coat and shit.
Did
like,
you move the door?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. I mean, it's a fair question. We know that the fortress can turn, so
right. Right. And also, really quick, guys, because you mentioned earlier, Leo, it's not a cameo, but I need more Wendell Pierce. His Perry White was freaking awesome with the cigar, and he's like, "Huh? You got a flying saucer, don't you? Let's go." I was just like, "Yes, this guy's great."
Yeah, he's perfect. Honestly, when I saw that casting, I was like, thank God James Gunn was listening, because man, Perry White is phenomenal. I just wanted more. I was like, man, my boy Bunk from The Wire, bruh, got him a job. I love to see
I
it.
was gonna say, I haven't seen him really do anything big in a while. That was cool.
Yeah, really.
Do we think Gunn cast a bunch of, like, respect to the cast here, but they are a lot of like actors who have experience on TV? Do we think we could possibly get like an Office style Daily Planet series? Because they did cut some of that with the promotional material.
I would love that. I love it. Only thing is, I'm like, I don't know. Well, I was like, I feel like Miss Maisel done, or is Miss Maisel? That got to be done.
I feel like the shtick would get old, but I would watch a mini series of that, and maybe not even just Daily Planet, maybe like other workplaces, and make it like a DC workplace show. Wait, hold on. They tried to do that.
Yeah, they had the show Powerless, I think was the name of it.
I liked that show with Vanessa
fun.
Hudgens.
Yeah, I didn't even watch that.
Yeah, I liked that show. And Danny Pudi, right? Like,
yep.
Oh shit. Well, one thing I'll say about Millie Alcock is she's in this show Sirens on Netflix, acting a fool up in that show. So I think that she's got so much range, and she's gonna bring a little bit of that character to Supergirl. A little Rhaenyra too. Listen, Rhaenyra was sneaking around with little Crispin Cole and whoever. So I mean, she's gonna bring a little of that messiness to Supergirl. I'm looking forward to that. Y'all Create Original said they were gripping the armrests. gripping for that 40X, holding on to dear life.
It's like Steve Lombard in the ship.
Exactly. Why don't I get a chair? That was funny. That one thing though I noticed about the Daily Planet crew, and this is something my friend pointed out. They were like, that brother in the back. My friend was like, that brother in the back definitely got a crucial role because he got a chair and he was called onto the ship. So I'm like, give that brother a little bit more recognition back there.
Ron Troop, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, give him a little more. Mike, what about them cameos, man? How'd you feel?
I thought they were good. The Peacemaker one, I don't like the implications of that because if you guys have watched Peacemaker, you know this man lies all the time. Like there's a scene where he's just like, Aquaman fucks fish, Superman eats poop. And it's like, if they're allowing this man on TV, how many lies has he spread in the DC universe? Like, I don't think James Gunn thought about that. Because if we're believing Peacemaker now, that means people believe that Aquaman fucks fish. And I just think that's crazy to think about.
Well, Aquaman and DC don't, but the boys universe, different story.
You know, we don't talk about the deep. There's a lot going on with him. But Millie Alcock, she was great. Like the one scene we get her in this movie is Supergirl. I know that Larry was talking about Melissa Benoist's interpretation of the character. That's not comic book Supergirl. If anything, that's kind of them making her resemble Clark Kent more, which is interesting. Like it worked in that show. I love Melissa in that series, and it was a fun show. But Kara is very much a mess. She's a teenager when she leaves Krypton, and she gets like lost in time for a little bit. So like the trauma of her planet exploding and her losing her parents is very much with her, and that's something that Clark never has because he's a baby. And like as her world is dying, she's sent here to take care of her baby cousin, and she gets here and that man is 30. And so she's got a lot to wrap her head around, and so her drinking kind of lends itself to that. It's like she's still trying to put herself back together. Mm-hmm. In Woman of Tomorrow, she goes on a space adventure. It's a high fantasy story. It starts with her in a bar with Crypto. Yep. And so we send her to a bar with Crypto, and we're leading directly into her movie next year. And I thought that was just a nice touch. Mm-hmm. The only thing that didn't make sense to me is why is Superman explaining this to Gary, his robot? Because I feel like he would know this. He would know that that's where she is, and that the yellow sun gives them their powers, and red sun. Because like if we're putting Superman in this chair to absorb sun energy, Gary would know this.
Right, Gary was like, yeah.
He told Gary that because we needed to know that. That's the only reason why.
For sure, it's just a clunky scene, is all.
Like that's like, just script writing, bro. We got to overlook that one.
put Lois in the room, and now it makes more sense to me. That's all.
Speaking of script writing, we're just gonna touch a little bit on maybe a couple of dislikes, because one thing I'll say about Superman is I really, really liked the movie. I think it was great. I thought Corn Sweat was awesome as Superman. I had a couple of gripes. I think, unfortunately, it is good to set up a universe here, and I think Gunn does a good job of setting things up. Only gripe I have is there's just a lot going on. It feels like there's a lot of times where it's just like, okay, we got to get back here. Justice Game, we got to do this, we got to do that. There's quite a bit going on. So I would say maybe that's probably my big gripe of the movie is there's just a lot to do. And there are some moments, some beautifully emotional moments, like between Ma and Pa and Clark when he comes back from the kryptonite poisoning, and they're tending to him, and then the conversation between Clark and Pa, like those are moments I wanted to sit on more, and we had to get away from them pretty quick to get back to the pocket universe ripping through. Like I just wanted a little bit more time with those emotional moments. So I think pacing wise, it's not as strong as it could have been. But we'll go around the horn, starting with you, Lo. What were just like a couple of dislikes you had about Superman?
Yo, the number one sequence that I just wasn't vibing with was they fell into that proton river, whatever the hell that means. Yo, there was a moment there where I was like, okay, we are kind of veering into Quantumania, that kind of like film style where it's like just overly like green screened, and I couldn't even tell what the hell was happening in that proton river at some points. I was just like, I didn't understand the physics of it. like, okay, the pocket universe is a whole other thing, right? Like, that's a very heady concept that I was like, okay, Lex Luthor's really smart. Okay, I'm here. But then once we got into that river and that whole action sequence felt like Hobbit. It felt like Quantumania. Just those kinds of action sequences that just didn't work for me. It didn't work for me visually. And I could have done without that whole sequence. Like, we could have broken out of the pocket universe in a very simple manner. We didn't need that action sequence. That was just a little too hokey for me. And visually I thought it looked very not good. But I also felt like it wasn't that we didn't need the Justice Gang or we didn't need the two storylines, but it just felt like James Gunn bit off a little bit more than he could chew. Like, he just really overstuffed this with all kinds of things, and I think he could have peeled back just a tad, maybe just trim the fat on a couple spots. But that's still my only main issue. It just felt a little overstuffed, and I hated that action sequence when they escaped the pocket universe. So
it's funny you bring up the pocket universe scene, because I was watching it last night and I was like, damn, that did feel really Guardians of the Galaxy. And while I did really like the movie, and I think, you know, there are small elements here and there that he will pull from his other movies, I was like, that felt really Guardians. Like, I really enjoyed it, but I was like, it kind of does like the whole, oh, I don't want the Guardians of the Galaxy, my Superman movie. I think you got like a little piece of that right there. But Mike, let us know your thoughts, just a couple dislikes, and then tell the people where they can find you over on social media.
Yeah. Dislikes, I'm right there with you guys. The pocket universe it's just not my favorite scene. It's not that it felt too Guardians for me, because like Superman goes to War World and other dimensions, and like the lost city of Kandor, like that stuff happens in Superman stories. So it's not that I didn't feel like it was in place. It just went on too long. It got a little ugly. It also just didn't make a ton of sense, because it's like, you can't go into this river and the Superman's just headfirst in the river, just holding baby Joey like this for like the entire time. It's like, I know whatever is toxic is in there, splashed on that baby.
Oh, you know it.
No, Mike, they established like, oh yeah, you go in there, you'll disintegrate, and Superman's swimming in it. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know, like
yeah. You can establish that it's burning him or something, right? Like, he doesn't even look like he's in pain. He's just like, I'm in a cube river. It's like, okay. I think this, going back to something that Larry said like 40 minutes ago now, is that I think this movie just needed more time. Like, it comes in at a very quick 2 hours. This could have been 2:15, and I think it would have allowed us to have more time on Kent Farm, have one more scene in the Daily Planet. Because we kind of upend Superman's life, and with that message from Jor-El, and we don't really see how it kind of falls apart. It's just like, he's depressed, he goes see his parents, and he's over it. And it's like, well, we could have built that a little bit more, lean into that a little bit more, because his entire worldview is being shaken. And while I love the scene on Kent Farm, and I love that scene with Pa, it would have been nice to have maybe one more scene or 2 more minutes in that scene, because his mother's there too, and she doesn't really say a ton. Or even them meeting Lois for the first time feels like that should be a big deal, and it's really not.
It's rushed. So, I mean, they rushing up to that ship like, hey, I'm Ma, this is Pa, good to meet you. Let's get him back into the bed. And I'm like, yeah. Well, damn, they didn't even like meet Lois.
When I say, and I mean this in the good and the bad, when I say that this is just Superman the animated series brought to life, it's stuff like that where it's like, yeah, it feels like we're in a 22-minute episode and we ran out of time. Yes. And all the positives that I give it are still there, but it's like, yeah, I think this movie just, it feels rushed, because we came in at just like a 2-hour runtime with credits, when we could have just been at like 2:15, 2:20, and it would have resolved a lot of those issues. But I do have to hop off of here, guys. It's been great hanging out with you. You can find me at Novice Cinephile everywhere, specifically YouTube and TikTok. And it's been awesome talking Superman with you guys. It's been a blast. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for coming through, man. It's awesome having you. And we got to do some more collaborations, my friend.
For sure. Hopefully we're back in a couple weeks to talk about something fantastic.
Yes, sir. All right. See you soon, Mike. Have a good day. All right, y'all. So, yep, quick dislikes. Larry, let us know, man. What were those few little dislikes you had?
So I said some of them. We won't reiterate those, but I think, speaking on Mike's point, I think we even could have kept it at just about 2 hours. That's the thing, is by cutting out the kaiju. Sorry, cutting out something like the kaiju. cutting out that whole river chasing in the Pocket Universe. There are moments in here that feel like this is a little bit random, and those are the moments that make it feel overstuffed to me. Is we have these random little battles, and then we have this war that's going on. There's like quite literal one country trying to invade another country, the political fallout between these countries and the United States of America, Superman representing America in this world conflict. Plus you have Superman learning his own thing, Superman and Lex Luthor's like connection with Superman and what he's trying to do. And then Lois and the Daily Planet all have their own subplot, and then you add in the Justice Gang. So there is a lot here. I still think it could have been juggled, and mostly I do think it's juggled pretty well. Every now and then, though, they just drop the ball. And the Pocket Universe is probably the biggest one where I was just like, I'm sorry, y'all. I was not. Somebody said I can't wait to see Joey when he gets old. I don't even need to see Joey as a baby.
Dang, man.
I said, well, maybe we drop that little boy in the river and let's head on, because listen, it's time to go.
Really? Little Joey
Very sad, man, baby.
I wasn't in love, Metamorpho. I'm sorry. I thought his characterization was, again, so I had a similar problem with a few things, but Metamorpho's like turn was very random to me. I don't know. Like, we don't really establish him. You know, we have Superman trying to reason with him. And I guess he's a good person, is kind of what they're saying. Deep down, he was always a good person, just being coerced. But his turn, when Lex does the Russian roulette and shoots that man, I was like, what? Okay, I don't know. Sure, I guess. His whole character, I was just kind of like, sure, I guess. And he's one of those weird characters. I think James Gunn was just like looking through and was like, which characters look the strangest? That's who I want to put into that one that like is a man that can transform into like a little tadpole with just a head and this little tail coming off the back. He's like, let me get that weirdo character, thank you. So I mean, and he served a purpose with the kryptonite, but everything in there. Oh, it got dark though. It did get very dark. That Russian roulette scene was very dark. I also thought, because they blacked out his eyes, seeing Krypto like hooked up to that machine with those blacked out zombied eyes just like running was horrible, like really horrifying. I was like, I don't know why this is like such a like devastating visual to me. So those are some things. Same thing, I had the same problem with Guy Gardner. So he sees the kid with the flag. I understood a little bit more with Hawk Girl when she saw it, and that kind of making her get inspired. I think we just needed another scene with Guy Gardner for me to buy his like, okay, I'm inspired enough to go do some shit. Because where we left him, I kind of felt like he was like, I don't know if he would do that or not. But just again, going back to, they just didn't have enough time for those characters. They didn't have enough time for Ma and Pa, like Mike said earlier. Ma has like 2 lines of dialogue, you know, like she doesn't get to do anything. And it's great that we got that Pa moment, particularly after our last Pa Kent and his famous moments before he dies. We definitely needed to get a Pa Kent redemption and right our wrongs. So I'm glad they gave him a moment in this film. Somebody else I hated, y'all. I hated the engineer.
Who?
I think a lot of that, though, is
the engineer.
I'm sorry to this woman. That line delivery was fucking rough, y'all. When she was hooked up to that machine in the damn Fortress of Solitude, like it was, oh no. I said, what? Okay, ma'am, no. It was not good. Though anytime she looked cool in action scenes, I'll give her that. But anytime she had to deliver lines, I was like, oh, ma'am, I don't know. But I'll turn this back to a little bit of a
gal.
The one thing I liked about the engineer that I was like, okay, you can kind of keep around. Something I mentioned in our podcast was that one thing I really enjoyed about this film, because a lot of times I've seen people bring it up because they saw it from the trailer, and obviously we did a lot of this when it came to Man of Steel and Henry Cavill's Superman, is why does Superman always have to be this like political thing, this human versus alien type of idea, and people turn on him and they don't know how to feel about him. And I think a big reason films have to do that is because Superman's OP as a character. He's so powerful that you really struggle to make his character interesting in a lot of ways. No offense, Superman fans, Mike. I'm sorry to say that. But it's difficult to say to make him interesting because he can beat everyone. He's more powerful than anyone. So in Kryptonite, you can only go back to that so much before it gets tired and played out. You're like, okay, Kryptonite, whoa. So you have to find interesting things to do with Superman. And one of the most interesting things you can do for him is play on that humanity, play on his relationship with human beings. So I get it. But what I liked about this film is they did do that still very clearly, and I thought quite effectively, is they actually showed interesting ways of him losing in battles. Superman got his ass beat for like 75% of this movie.
For real, he was.
Superman was not winning these fights for the majority, and part of that I do think is I don't think he was going full OP Superman because he's not trying to kill people. So that's the other thing, is he's trying to save casualties, but filling up his lungs with like nanobots and shit is like really interesting ways of like, can he get out of this? I have no idea. Maybe this can kill his ass. Having him go against his twin, which his clone, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about that. What is it, Bizarro at the end of it
Ultraman.
all? Ultraman, Bizarro, anything?
Yeah, that was kind of like tucked in. And like what I liked about that is like it could have created an interesting dynamic where it was like, oh, this is you if you went the route of like what your parents wanted you to be. I thought that there was like some interesting ideas they could have done with that, but it is just kind of like shoehorned in there. And I don't know, maybe I was just wishful thinking. I was like hoping it was Henry Cavill under there, because I was like, okay, that would have been crazy if it was fucking Henry as Ultraman. It's like, yeah, I went to another universe and got that Superman's hair. That would have been crazy, but
that would have been why I think my theater might have erupted. Like that would have been a cameo moment that would have erupted the world. So I thought the character itself was, but I like that it presented an obstacle Superman couldn't easily just whoop his way out of, and they presented a lot of those in this film of, no, there are ways for other beings, other metahumans, other heroes without kryptonite and without humans, this whole conflict. There are ways to make his character interesting, to make it feel like he can't win this battle. He has to really dig deep. And then that all ties back to the conversation earlier, because I agreed with both of you. At first, I wasn't sure how I felt when I saw Guy Gardner descending when that boy was holding that flag. At first, I was a little bit taken aback. I was like, oh, is this emotionally powerful? But I had the same epiphany as Leo did coming out of the theater. Said, no, it was, because it was much more powerful to see him inspire not only the people of that city, but inspire other heroes to become heroes. And I think if we had one more scene with Guy Gardner, it would have really hit right off the bat. I think that's the disconnect, is where we leave Guy Gardner to where he shows up and he's the first thing this kid sees. You're kind of like, oh, that kid I know was like, for you, sir. Is this your symbol on my flag? Timu, I want a refund. But it ends up being a good turnaround. And I'll say it, I don't know how you two feel, Leo. I think you're definitely a lot more into the lore than I am. I would have loved maybe to even hear Mike's take, so if he types it in the chat. I know people are very divided on the change to his Kryptonian parents and their message to Clark. I personally liked it, but I'm not all that tied to his parents, and that line, I particularly liked it because I thought they handled it very, very well in this film. It led to Clark Kent's character arc. I mean, it's pretty much the basis of his character arc, honestly, is it adds an extra layer to him and his humanity that just having his parents sent him to Earth to do good doesn't necessarily do. And then having that juxtaposed with his Earth parents being like, no, you and your actions are what make you a hero and who you are, not what your parents sent you here to do. That doesn't matter. I thought it worked really well, but Leo, how did I think you're probably the most versed in Superman comics here. How did you feel about that change?
I thought it was a good change because I think it triggers the arc for Clark. I mean, it is because like he was so hopeful in the beginning of the film, and he's so helpful and he's saved all these people, and then this thing comes along and throws a complete wrench into like his life philosophy. And I think that works, that serves a great purpose for the film, because his real parents were who instilled that goodness in him. And I thought that was like such a great way to tie them into the movie, and how they built him to just be this, or how they raised him to just be this like beautiful human being, and I liked it. I think that it was actually a welcome change. They do something similar in My Adventures with Superman, the animated one. So I think making these changes, in my opinion, is cool, because it gives Superman a core conflict. Because if that conflict didn't come in, it would just be, Superman's like, I'm just going to help everybody, and did it, but it presents an actual inner battle with Superman. And then you have the Ultraman reveal, and it's like, oh, hey, here that is personified, of like, yeah, my greatest enemy is this inner conflict I'm having with myself. So I think for me, it worked really well. What about you, Lo?
I didn't know how I felt about it initially, and honestly, I didn't think it was real for a good portion of the film until who was it? I think Mr. Terrific said something like, "Oh, well, it was proved by the linguists, and you can't debate that." And it's like, oh, they're running with this. Like I thought it was fabricated at first, but yeah, initially I didn't feel good about it, but I understand the storytelling, the cinematic, creating that inner conflict, like you guys are saying, not to kind of like, for lack of better words, I understand that, and I think it does make for an interesting take on the character. But does it? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a purist, and I'm not a Superman fan by all means. I'm not a fanboy, but does that make you guys feel weird that they're tweaking like his origins in that manner? Like, it's like,
I don't mind it, just because of like what it served for the movie's purpose. But Johnny Dome down in the comments brings out a really good point. I mean, it could have been Zod forced them to say it. It could have been tampered. We don't really necessarily. Well, the engineer gives us a definitive answer, but we don't know if there's more context behind this message. But if it is just the simply like they sent him here for that, first off, James Gunn is watching Dragon Ball Z, because that's what Goku was. I was like, okay, so we pulling a little Dragon Ball Z in here. But second, I just think like it works for me just because of like what they set up for the movie. And Secret Dance Move said that they love the change. It's the heart of the movie. And yeah, just it's like the core of the movie, the core conflict of Superman, because like Larry was saying earlier, Superman is super. Like, it's hard to beat this dude. So I think having this inner conflict is something that could be an actual conflict for Superman, could actually be hard. Because beating down bad guys and taking out monsters, that's easy for Superman. But this inner conflict challenging his whole philosophy, that's hard.
Yeah. And I think that was an interesting way to, like, to Larry's point, you can only do kryptonite so many times, right? So that is a type of conflict that we haven't seen, and I think that made for a very like intriguing story beat.
So here's all I'll say. I did want to just touch on the engineer briefly. Yes, that actress, I probably would have cast somebody else, but I do think the engineer represents like the reality of CEOs. The engineers are who do all the work. They do all the dirty work. Ooh. They're the ones in the computer. They're the ones out in the fields. Depending on what type of engineering, they're the ones that are running these companies. So I think the engineer's character purpose is true. It serves a good purpose, but like, yeah, I think that actress, unfortunately, was just kind of
not best. I did kind of. I mean, okay, I will say the henchmen, all of Lex Luthor's little lackeys, were interesting in the fact that I was like, y'all just go along, huh? There is no thought. All them ones that were like playing the video games basically with Clone Boy. I was like, you all don't have a thought in your head. You're just on here. F5,
Zombies.
B1. Like, you're on here just playing your little video games in here. So I liked that at least a couple of them had a reservation about Lex Luthor doing all this madness shit. They were like, bruh, you're about to rip our planet in half. Like, our entire reality is about to be shredded, including the engineer who was like, what are you doing, sir? The problem was she instantly just kind of like went back and was like, all right, let me kill him. Like, she instantly was just like, whatever. And there's a throwaway line at the beginning where she's like, I threw away my humanity because I agreed with you that he was a threat. And I'm like, why? A part of me just wonders, like, why did she believe that? So when you throw in little lines like that, it makes me want a backstory, even if I don't want the character, because I'm like, girl, something had to have happened that you were so dramatic that you would let him completely engineer you into a metahuman like being. Like you said, you surrendered your entire humanity to kill Superman. And her character otherwise was not developed enough. I was like, I don't even know if we needed that throwaway line of like backstory, because now it makes me think you're underdeveloped, when before I would have thought you were just generic henchman and wouldn't have had a second thought about it.
Yeah,
That's well said. Like, why? Yeah. Like, why? Yeah, that line kind of makes you wonder.
Yeah, the engineer is interesting in that I like the character's purpose in the film, but there's some missings there, and I don't quite like the actress. So it's like, if they cut her out completely, I don't think I would be upset. If like Ultraman or was that dude that was carrying out all the stuff that, I don't think I would be upset. So engineer, I think that's one character that probably could have been cut.
Well,
and she took down my boy Crypto.
The Fortress of Solitude, right?
What's that?
Like to hack the Fortress of Solitude computer. I feel like that was like her main point, right? Like the fact that she could do the nanite thing.
Yeah, and extract the message, and they got the whole message, and now we got the other half, and which I did think that was all good. I think Lex's plan was executed like wonderfully, and it is a really good example of how like little pieces of information can just start a shitstorm on the internet, as we've seen. So I love that, and I love how James Gunn just kind of takes these little shots at the Snyder Cult, man. Like, this man is just taking these little itty bitty little pellet shots at the Snyder Cult with the monkeys and the spreading the messages and stuff. Kind of crazy, man. I was like, did Zack Snyder watch this, man?
that was another through line of the film. Again, see, I think maybe this is why people are saying like overstuff or like they're missing stuff or whatever. We have the very obvious. People are saying it's clear cut Palestine. I think it's a little bit of a mix of the Israeli conflict and the Russian conflict.
Yeah, because Ukraine, right?
Yeah, Ukraine. I mean, they literally invade the country a la Russia. Because I mean, Palestine, I guess, has been invaded, but it's not really an invasion as much as it is. Well, we won't get into that on Leo's channel. I don't want to just rile anybody up on Leo's channel, but he was very Netanyahu coded. But the conflict itself was not only the Israeli conflict, it very much felt like the Russian-Ukraine conflict, all blended into one. It felt like a merge of them both to me. So we had that, but then we also had media and its unfortunate control over people. There's like a Fox News stand-in in this movie that Lex Luthor goes on to talk about that also turns on Lex Luthor like this. I can't believe we had him on our show. But we had we had them stand-in. So to Mike's point a little bit earlier when it came to like, oh, we're just believing Peacemaker now. I don't think they necessarily wanted you to believe Peacemaker, or I don't think Peacemaker was put in there as like this is supposed to be a true seer or anything, or like a trusted source. I think it kind of added to the narrative of people just come on here they talk on these media and people fall in line with whatever the media is spouting, whether it's online with these monkeys out here like creating narratives on websites that push these different ideals, or it's the literal mainstream media bringing on these guests that you supposedly trust or you think are intelligent, like Lex Luthor, the CEOs, and they're pushing a narrative. So I thought I actually thought that was really well done, how they kept that through line of the media forming these narratives at all different angles.
Yeah, the media plays a big role in this movie, especially with it like also saving the day at the end too. Like the way that it can very much cause chaos, but also course correct is like such a great representation of real life media. Like that's how it happens. It's like, oh, something happens, all this stuff. Oh my God. And then later another detail comes out and it's like, oh, wait. It's a very sharp depiction, in my opinion, of journalism and where it's at. I did think maybe the Daily Planet, I was like, really, y'all still doing newspapers? That was a little outdated, but I understand for the comics, for the point of the comics, they wanted to hammer that home. But we're just gonna go around, let the people know your final thoughts, where they can find you, and what you got coming up on your platforms. I'm gonna start with you, Lo. Let the people know your final thoughts and what you got coming up, where they can find you.
Yeah, man. I think all in all, I think Superman is well worth watching. It's a very fun film, great performances, some awesome action sequences, a couple little wonky sections there. Like I said, I think I could have done without that whole river chase. But all in all, it's a great time, and I think it's a great start to the DC universe. It's not a perfect start. It's not exactly Iron Man 2008, like kicking it off with a bang type of deal, but I think it's serviceable and fun enough for people to enjoy. Especially, I think my favorite thing about this take on the character is I feel like kids can watch this one. Not that they can't watch Man of Steel, but kids can watch this one and think like, hey, that's Superman. I like this guy, and they can look up to Superman. So I love that, and I'm excited to see more of not just Superman, but more of the DC universe. So great start, I think. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Marcellus Durden. I'm a proud editor and critic for The Cinema Spot. Follow us on all socials at The Cinema Spot and thecinemasPot.com. We got a lot of great reviews that we just dropped for 28 Years Later. You'll find coverage for the Tribeca Film Festival that's just been about to wrap up soon. Check us out, cinemaspot.com.
Awesome. Definitely be sure to check him out over at thecinemasPot.com. They got a lot of reviews coming up, so check them out, y'all. And Larry, let the people know your final thoughts on Superman and where they can find you and what you got coming up.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Superman overall. At the end of the day, I have my gripes. I have my nitpicks with some of the sillier aspects. Not the fact that they made a Superman movie silly. I just think the way that Gunn handled them was not my favorite in some aspects. But at the end of the day, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I think the positives and the highs far outweigh the problems I have with the Gunnisms throughout. I think the way the character is handled and that earnestness, that heart, and that understanding of the idea of Superman shines through and gives a really hopeful, inspirational beam to the character that I've been waiting since Christopher Reeve's interpretation of the character to get on the big screen. So I'm so excited that we have that here. I think every Superman fan is going to really enjoy this film. I think whether you enjoyed the Henry Cavill DCEU version or not, I'm noticing everybody across the board in both camps seems to be coming around and really enjoying at least this interpretation of Superman. So definitely give it a shot. And ultimately, it's just a testament to the power of a well-placed selfie. So if you need that lesson, there you go. As for me, I will be at San Diego Comic-Con. So for all my fellow comic-y nerds and geeks who love pop culture and film, I'll be there on the 23rd covering, as we talked about, I think before this, DC won't be there except for with Peacemaker. So we're not getting a whole lot of DC content, but we will have Peacemaker content going on, but a ton of other fun stuff. It's always a blast to be at Comic-Con. I just was at Fan Expo Denver with Leo, did some cosplays over there. It's always a good time. So check me out over on Chili Boy Productions here on YouTube, as well as Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Letterboxd, all over the place. Chili Boy Productions.
Y'all be sure to follow Larry over on Chili Boy Productions on YouTube and all other social media platforms. He creates great content, y'all. And if you're new to this channel, definitely hit that subscribe button. We do shorts every single day, and then several times a week. We also give you some Marvel updates, lots of rumors that go around this crazy rumor mill. So we will be keeping you up to date on all of those here on this channel. Definitely hit that subscribe button. And then Monday night, we will also be having our weekly our weekly news show that I do with Loretto here, and our co-host Ileana will be doing that at 6 p.m. PT. So stop on by if you're around on Monday night, because we'll be chatting it up about the latest movie news. But y'all, it has been a blast chatting in the comments. Special shout out to the folks over in the comments, and a huge shout out to our super chat. KC, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that, and appreciate the support on this channel. Come on back for more. We'll see you guys next time on Geekly Goods.